Keto-adaptation. Do you know what happens with your physiology when you are keto-adapted? What's up guys, Dr. Borja Bandera here in another video at your medicine, nutrition and exercise channel. First of all, don't forget hitting that subscribe button. Today we're gonna talk about keto adaptation. What is keto adaptation? What happens in your body when you are keto adapted? Okay, first for the new guys, keto comes from ketogenic diet. Okay, ketogenic diet is that kind of diet when you give minimum to zero carbohydrate from diet. Okay, you give no supply of carbohydrates, so your body is forced to use fat as fuel. Okay, you start burning fat, and that burning of fat produce ketones bodies. Okay, a kind of organic acid that goes up when you start a ketogenic diet and have multiple benefits and effects, physiologic effects. So keto adaptation, what is keto adaptation? Keto adaptation is just the process by which your physiology, your metabolisms get used to use fat as fuel instead of use glucose as fuel. Okay? This process can last weeks, even months, and it's not binary at all. It's not I'm keto adapted or I'm not keto adapted. We have in between a wide range of physiologic states, okay, that we are gonna see right now. How do you know if you are keto adapted? You could think, okay, Borja, if I'm keto adapted, I should have high blood ketone levels. It's not that easy. For example, in a normal diet, in a normal mixed diet, you will find you have between 100 and 250 micromoles per liter of ketones body. It's a very minimal concentration of ketone body. But in a nutritional ketosis, that is exactly what happens when you are involved in a ketogenic diet, okay, you will find 0.5 to 3 millimoles per liter of ketone bodies. Okay, you will notice we have changed units here. That's micromoles and this millimoles. That is bigger than that. Okay, in a prolonged fasting you will find 5 to 10 millimoles of ketone bodies, and in a ketoacidosis, that is a pathological condition that is very, very dangerous for your health, you will find more than 10 millimoles per liter of ketone bodies. But one thing is having ketonemia, which is levels of ketones in your blood that are moderately high, 0.5 to 3 millimoles. Okay, that is what happened exactly in a ketogenic diet. And another different thing is be adapted, be ready to use those ketones bodies. Your cells, your muscle cells, your liver cells, your brain cells, when you start a ketogenic diet, are not ready yet to use efficiently those ketones bodies. Okay, so you will have to wait to be keto adapted to use it proficiently and efficiently. And this is the magic of keto adaptation. So having ketonemia is not the same as be keto adapted. Okay, what happens when you start a ketogenic diet with glucose, insulin and glucagon? Okay, glucose will remain in the lowest part of the physiological range. If this is the physiological range of glucose, let's say 80 to 100 milligrams per deciliter, okay, and we are here in a normal diet, when you start a ketogenic diet, you will come here to the lowest part with a fair amount of stability, okay, low fluctuations in the lowest part of physiologic range. right? With insulin, you will find something very similar. You will find that both postprandial insulin peak after meals, okay, and fasting insulin goes down. Both go down, okay? So insulin as well will be at the lowest part of the physiological range as glucose. With glucagon happens something different. Glucagon and insulin are opposing hormones. Glucagon does exactly the opposite than insulin, okay? When insulin stores fat, glucagon facilitates oxidation of that fat. When insulin lowers blood glucose, glucagon increment that blood glucose. Are opposing hormones, so in that respect, glucagon, when you start a ketogenic diet, goes up, okay? Glucagon goes up, but then as you are more keto adapted with time, it stays more or less the same, but then when you are starting to be keto adapted, it stays more or less as the starting point, okay? But first, in the few days and weeks, glucagon goes up, right? Now a molecule that is very interesting to analyze is glycerol. You know that a triglyceride is compound of a molecule of glycerol and 3 fatty acids. 3 glycerides, okay? Glyceride comes from glycerol. A triglyceride that is stored in your adipocyte, when it's burned, we have at one hand 3 molecules of 3 fatty acids, okay, 1, 2, and 3, and at the other hand, when we break apart a triglyceride, we have as well a molecule of glycerol. A glycerol molecule is very useful to one thing. A glycerol molecule is very useful to make glucose by neoglucogenesis. What is neoglucogenesis? It's the process by which your liver makes new glucose when we don't have any of it available because we are, for example, doing a ketogenic diet. So, very important, glycerol is useful for new glucogenesis, right? And in that respect, and for that reason, in the very few first days of ketogenic diet, glycerol peaks and then goes down again. When it peaks, it means we have neoglucogenesis high because we are starting to produce endogenous glucose because we don't have availability of glucose. And you will think, and why then it goes down? The answer is that ketones start getting used by our cells, and when our cells are allowed to use ketones body, we need much less endogenous glucose. Okay, more hormones. Talking about hormones, we have T3 hormones, thyroid hormones. Okay, usually, you know, ketogenic diet are very related to damage to thyroid metabolism, and this is partly true because we find in some studies that T3 goes down, but in other studies T3 remains stable. What we can find as well is that reverse T3, that is the non-active form of T3, goes up in the first days but then goes down again. So we have less activity or thyroid gland in the first week, but then our thyroid gland should start working normally. When we talk about growth hormone, a very important, interesting hormone, growth hormone goes up in the first days and then again goes down to stay the same than initially by day 30. That not happen with noradrenaline or norepinephrine, that keep elevated during the period we are doing a ketogenic diet, and that could well be the reason we feel very alert, we feel very cognitively fine when we are doing a ketogenic diet, that noradrenaline is higher, okay, it's higher than normal, and that's very interesting as well. When it comes to testosterone, initially in the first days we see that testosterone goes down. That could be negative, but when we wait for some weeks, 3 to 6 weeks, we find that testosterone comes back to normal levels. We have to talk about muscle glycogen. Glycogen is the form our bodies store glucose. Okay, glucose excess is stored as glycogen in muscle and liver cells. Of course, when we are not giving exogenous glucose, our glycogen levels or glycogen stores go down. After 1 week, in obese participants, we find a 57% of basal levels of glycogen, and after 6 weeks, we find only 68% of basal levels of glycogen in those same participants. But in other studies, mainly in athletes, we find something quite different here. Borja, an author, found that in some athletes we cannot find any difference in glycogen levels between people who are not doing any ketogenic diet at all and people that are on ketogenic diet. So there must be some mechanism instead of gluconeogenesis that makes those glycogen stores to be repleted, to be almost complete. Some biological process that we don't understand yet should be on and active, so ketogenic athletes have glycogen stores almost repleted and with a small difference compared to non-ketogenic athletes. 2 more molecules to talk about. Uric acid. Uric acid is an organic acid and it competes directly with other organic acids for kidney cleanse. And what happened is that ketonic bodies, ketones are organic acid. So as ketones are high, they are a competence to uric acid that cannot be cleansed, cannot be washed out properly and rise up in blood. That's the reason uric acid goes up when you start a ketogenic diet. And fibroblast growth factor 21 is a very interesting molecule that is closely related to keto adaptation. When we cut the gene that codifies for FGF21 in a mice model, this mouse cannot adapt properly to a ketogenic diet. So that molecule that is related with a lot of metabolic processes is closely linked to keto adaptation, and if we don't have this molecule properly functioning, we won't keto adapt well. That's for today. Thank you guys for watching this video. Don't forget checking Instagram, checking Patreon. You have down below in the description the links. Again, thank you for watching. Keep healthy and strong.